We will focus today on learning about love as a frequency and as a superpower. Because love is something everyone wants, but it is also something that everyone is. And we have a lot of confusing ideas, just as around many subjects that we learn here in this Feminine Power Blueprint course. We have a lot of confusing ideas around love. And all those confusing ideas coming from movies, even our children cartoons, social media, created an image around love that is quite disempowering. It is hard to understand what it actually is, and the idea of us wanting to have it is already quite destructive because it's something we have and it is something we tune into and open ourselves to and let it run through us and move through us rather than something we take, give, possess, and own. And I'll open little subtle ways, especially the media has taught us to be so afraid or so in contraction around love, which might help all of us to see clearly what's happening with it. And I'll share more about love, how to see it and feel it as a frequency, and as a result, have it as a superpower that can help you have depth in your relationships, truly enjoy dating if you are currently dating, or be able to build depth and connection in long-term relationships, and to also have the superpower within you in everyday life, in how you move, how you interact with people, how you interact with strangers, how you create, how you move through your career, through your business, through family gatherings, through everything. There are very simple tools around opening to love that we can learn to embody and bring to the table at any time, and they work everywhere. It is such a superpower that I keep enjoying in the settings that usually no one would speak about, where you can use love. And when you can use love in places where you thought you couldn't or shouldn't, that's where you see how powerful it actually is. So I'll share with you quite a lot of practical experiences, and then we'll go into practice that is going to teach you and help you rehearse to tap into frequency of love at any time you want to do so. So what do we actually as a society know about love, and what do we learn, especially as children, around love? I feel like that's always important to reflect. Okay, what is my current information around a subject that I want to learn more about and embody more in my life? What do we see as kids? We have these cartoons growing up, or stories, fairy tales, especially tales, even in books, yeah, even before the internet, where a princess is saved by the love of her life. Especially this saving bit, the knight is coming for you and they are going to give you that love that you're looking for. That's quite a very common toxic story we have. It's like there is somebody there, out there, who is going to come and show you what love truly is. Every single, like a lot of, not every single, but a lot of fairy tales are about that. And there are lots of stories out there where we learn that love is something we need to achieve or be given, as opposed to something that comes through us. A lot of fairy tales are around us finding the one, and only then experiencing the depth of love, or losing the one and then never experiencing the same love again. This story of I will love you forever, or no, or I will not be able to love anyone else. How much we romanticize that. That love was only for that one person and it will never repeat because it was true love, right? So then we grow up, and it's then when, if we watch currently all the movies, especially if when we're teenagers and when we have all those movies around love and dating, then the whole story fuels more with transaction around love. There is a lot of transaction around love. And now people get more and more on dating apps, and finding love becomes a game. It becomes a swiping game, it becomes a performance, It becomes something where we don't even say we're looking for love. We say we're looking for short-term relationships, long-term relationships, something casual, something not casual. It becomes quite a part of our consumerism, what we are looking for in our relationships, instead of we're looking for love. And looking beyond that, actually, every single person out there on a dating app, in the end, whether they want something casual, whether they want one night stand, whether they want a long term relationship, in any case, if you go deep enough, everyone is looking for love. Some people are afraid of it. Some people are not vulnerable enough. Some people just don't want to admit. Some people really want it and don't know how to say it. Everyone is looking for love. And everyone is looking for love, not necessarily even in a relationship, because love is a frequency. It's a feeling, it's an energy that fuels our lives and makes everything full of meaning. And that's what we want to learn about today, about love as a frequency. I'm just going to see a few questions in the chat. I think question is about staying in love when irritated by people and how. Amazing. That's definitely going to be covered. And when with big love comes big pain. Love and loss walk hand in hand. I find it scary. It is true. It is true. Because it can come with big pain because eventually we will lose our loved ones unless we die before them, right? Even if we are with them forever. And that's why love is so powerful, because it helps us to connect to fears, to pain, to all the totality of life experience and the depth of emotion for which we need to be strong and open. We can choose to not experience this totality and freedom and the depth of connection and this frequency running through us. And that probably is a choice that would only come out of fear indeed. Not to experience love is living from fear. And that's another thing we're going to dive into. So if we stop looking at love as something that we only meet in a relationship, that we only can experience through a union with another person, and that's something that we have to own, we have to have, we have to receive from elsewhere, then a lot of freedom and power comes in. It can be very difficult to see love as something independent from a relationship because of conditioning, because we've been taught from movies and fairy tales and cartoons and all the stories around us that love is something you experience with another person. And yes, of course, we can love another person, and that's incredible when we create a union where we experience love. But it's not the only place where we experience love, and neither it is the love itself. Love is something that comes from within. And then we learn a lot about, okay, love is a frequency and it comes from within, but how? How do I do that? What do you mean? And does that let me actually have more love in a relationship? Yes, it does. But it's not very linear or straightforward. It's not, it cannot be transactional in this way as well. It's not like I need to generate frequency of love in me so that I get more love in a relationship. Yes, you will get more love in a relationship, but you cannot have this transactional mindset if you're looking for love. So how do we want to see love? Love, if you see it from a tantric perspective, for example, I feel like from tantric perspective, it's really beautiful to see this, and it gives you clarity. It's just one of the energetic currents, and it's a really powerful energetic current, and it moves through us and shows us our truth. Basically, us as being divine is just one of the currents that shows us that we are divine, that shows us our connection to the divine. And this current moves through us. And what if we understand that it moves through us? What does it mean? It means that we need to open ourselves so that it can move through us, instead of being afraid and closed up and not allowing it to move through us. Yeah, so let's just tune in into this idea. If you imagine love as a wave, as a really powerful, one of the highest frequencies in the universe. A powerful, powerful energy frequency. So it moves through. And then you see our bodies full of stories, full of conditioning, full of fear because of past experiences. And so our bodies close. And it becomes really difficult for the frequency of love to move through fully and really show you the truth of how divine you are. Yeah, just if you imagine it that way, like fear, insecurities, past experiences, stories, and the frequency just can't truly move. So you don't feel it, you don't really notice its power. The only way for you to truly experience its power and live with this power, which is going to make everything better, is to unwind, and open yourself up, release the stories of fear, not push them out, yeah, not like, not suffering, releasing these stories of fear, insecurities, whatever the world has taught us to really be so tough and not open, and allow the frequency of love to just move through you all the time, and therefore continuously filling you up, showing you the path that is true to you, and letting you be open to everything that you truly desire and help you be aligned with all the good and divine in the universe. So this would be a spiritual explanation or a tantric explanation of love, which if you tune in into more of your intuitive self, not such a logical self, because of course we don't see energy, but if you tune in into your intuitive self, you can see, right? If you are tough, if you're scared, if you're insecure, if you remember all the past stories and your entire conditioning that love is scary, love is painful, love is difficult, it's something I need to get, something I need to find. Oh my God, well, what if I never find love? What if I'm not meant for love? What if there is no that person? What if the only person that I ever loved I already broke up with? All of that is just creates this amount of tension that doesn't allow the true frequency of love to be felt. And therefore, what's the step? What's the action step? The action step is to unwind, release the old stories, and let your body be a vessel that carries the frequency of love itself. Yeah. And now let's get into something more practical. I invite you to maybe, yeah, really to reflect first on what I've just shared, to see this love as an energy and frequency. It can be something that intuitively sinks in immediately with you, or something that you need to feel into longer. But we will practice that today. And if we now get into more practical sense, which I will still infuse with a lot of energetic information. If everyone wants love in this world, then being able to transmute love is a superpower. So if you learn to really feel love inside of you and act from love and not fear, and bring the energy of love into the room wherever you are, you're going to shift how people feel in the room. I'm going to start with how it works in business, because I feel like that's where people really don't use it, and that's where it's such a big superpower, because literally no one understands what's happening. But I love using it, and it works every time. If you are in a meeting, say, that's where usually there is not so much frequency of love. Whatever job you do, maybe you're creative, maybe you're corporate, maybe you're an entrepreneur, and you are in a room with people, and everyone is in their heads trying to create a strategy or trying to come up with the next step or doing something. If instead of focusing on what we are doing and say you are the one leading a conversation or wanting to put a point through in the conversation, try to notice that these are people that also want love wherever they are and whatever they're doing in life. Everyone wants love. And you tune in into your heart and you invite that current to move through you. And you soften your jaw and you soften your face. And you speak from your heart. And it's such an energetic thing that you do. You soften your entire body and you speak from your heart. Then whatever you say is just going to shift the energy in the room, and people will feel it and they will slow down and they'll hear you, and they'll hear what is it that you want to say, and they'll have a spark of curiosity in their eyes. They will not understand what's happening, but they'll feel something that they so long for, and therefore they'll be drawn to whatever you're saying. So for me, I'm a businesswoman, and I can, apart from really fun and beautiful things that I do, I can also be raising money from really corporate people, like the bankers, for example. What I used to, when I was raising funds from a previous startup, I would do that. I would come into the room with really tough finance people who are bored and no one ever speaks to their heart. And it's always about like, give me the money, here is the financial projections, la 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 la. So if instead I just sit down and actually let space for silence, not to be intense and jump on them with all the things, but actually sit down and take a breath and open my heart and transmute this frequency of love, which is an embodied experience that you can learn, people soften. They no longer ask that many questions because they can feel it. They feel the energy. So that's a superpower you can have if you learn to tune in into the frequency of love. If everyone so desperately wants it, and literally it's so hard these days to get it in the culture of technology and transaction and dating apps and just disconnection from each other, you know that people mostly these days, one of the highest reasons for suicide is loneliness. Yeah, so people are longing for this connection, longing for the sense of love. If they feel just a little bit of it in the frequency that you generate, they listen to you because they desperately desire this sense. And again, this works because you don't see love as something transactional. You don't see love as something purely romantic. Yeah, that's another thing. It's a beautiful frequency that you can share in a union, but you can also transmute it as a frequency. So it doesn't mean I am now in love with this bankers in front of me in this meeting. It's more that I transmute the frequency that they truly desire and want and can get magnetized by. And when I do so, I don't do it from a transactional standpoint. I do it from a really human standpoint. I see them as people. I see their inner child within. And I want to show them that I have love and I know what they need and I know what they want. So it's something that the more you practice, the more you can do it, the more you can do genuinely and authentically wish and real love to all these people you talk to, the more connection you will build with everyone. And that is a superpower. And then let's get to actual love and dating. Yeah. So how that works there. I'll start with dating. I know majority of women in our course are single or in early stages of relationships. So I would love to share something on dating here a little bit more. Honesty, authenticity, and love is again, most people crave and want. They can resist that or be fearful of that or have a lot of conditioning around it. But at the very core, this is what they want and need. And if you have that, it's really attractive. And the reason a lot of us don't show it, of course we have it, right? But a lot of us are not, don't show it or are not open to showing it because we ourselves have insecurities and fears and all the past experiences. And we think so much about what kind of impression I give to the person I'm dating right now. And does he like me? Does she like me? What's happening? Yeah. All these questions are killing this connection and frequency of love. If instead, say, I feel like this example, because majority of people now date on dating apps. If you meet someone on a dating app and you go for a date, usually there is this question of what they're looking for. I experimented with that when I was dating. The answer to this question that really stops everything and makes people like, oh, is if you respond with love. Everyone responds to this question like, yeah, I'm like dating, recently broken up, maybe I'm gonna find something serious, maybe no, la la blah blah blah, right? So it's like now it becomes again such a strategy in a transaction. And if you respond to this question as I'm looking for love, first of all, this is so unusual. People get shocked by it, like, whoa, people admit that vulnerably that they actually want love. Whoa. And that answer, first of all, it's a massive check for a person that you're trying to date. Are they even able to be vulnerable and open? What would they respond to that? And if they aren't able to be vulnerable and open, and if they were there just to I don't know, like basically just for fun, and you're looking for depth, then here is your answer. You maybe now you're done. It's very clear. And if it's a person in front of you who actually is looking for real connection, they've been desperate for this answer. They were looking for someone who can finally say honestly that they're looking for love. So it's such a simple thing. But if you can just tell to people that you're looking for love, that's going to just hit the spot in such a strong way for people. And a lot of people don't say that because, again, they're afraid to admit or afraid of love. And if you're afraid of love, you can't let this frequency through your body. Yeah, fear will not let this frequency through your body. Letting go of fear is one of the most important things in this path. So you can test this if you're dating. Just notice what happens to people when you tell them you're looking for love. And what I've been doing now, because I'm in a relationship for a few years, when I have conversations with men, is with women, it's usually for me a bit more, it gets into the depth much faster. And I still like to test these things with men because I don't do men's work. I just chat to them about these things to see how they react. And then when they tell me about their dating experiences, they all again everyone starts with this transactional conversation. Oh, women are looking for a provider, women are looking for that, women are looking for this, and that's why it's so difficult, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but aren't you looking for love? And that's where, even with me, right? I'm not dating with them. That's where their hearts melt. They usually stop. They're like, oh, yes. And when this drops into a conversation, people drop these superficial things that they're thinking about when they're trying to find a partner. Yeah, it's harder to start speaking and thinking about transactions, who is bringing what to the table, when you bring love into conversation. So just try that. It's one superpower thing that you can have in your dating. Just admit and openly share that you want love. And this is what you're here for. And see what happens. And energetically for you, how it can really be authentic for you and easy is when you really ground yourself in this idea. If love is something you want, it's a superpower to own it. And opening to it energetically and practicing the embodiment of love is how you can learn to tap into it at any time. Then, and not other places where you can work with love. It's literally everywhere. They'll just give you examples that are not, sorry. Before getting there, let's talk about long-term relationships. And this is where the question of Jane here comes really to the point. Staying in love when being irritated by people. Yeah, so people say love lives for 3 years. Similarly as, sex becomes boring with time. Why? Because we don't work on these things. We don't continuously practice tapping into love. Neither do we work on our sexual connection. For most people, yes, love will live for 3 years because that's when the certain hormonal connections and biochemistry is going to start changing and people are used to each other, blah, blah, blah. But it will not if you continuously practice love and continuously tune into love in a relationship. It's something that needs to continuously be addressed and invited into a relationship. Similarly as sexual connection. And practicing love when you are in love with someone is very easy. So we don't need to cover that. It's a feeling that is also fueled with hormones and emotions and all of that. So that's an easy part. When you are longer together, where you practice love is exactly when you are irritated by that person, annoyed by that person, having an argument. You're practicing that love when it's hard. This is where this ability to tune into the bigger frequency of love actually comes handy. Yeah, so it's not when you're making love and you're happy together in bed and you're on a romantic date. Yeah, that's where you can invite more love, and that's another amazing practice. But usually that's an easy part. When you're having an argument or you hate them, they did something wrong every single day in the mornings, they annoy you with with something. Yeah, so especially tiny beats in a routine where you live with someone and something annoys you about them. Yeah, that's those tiny things. This is where you have to practice love. And how do you do that? You learn to connect to love as a frequency, as a channel that comes through you, as an energetic frequency that comes through you. Instead of thinking that this is something that happens between you and the other person, it is instead something that comes through you. And that's again, you're irritated, your body becomes contracted, and you don't allow the frequency of love to move through you. So you practice embodiment, you practice energetic alignment that we'll do today. This is where, okay, in the practical sense, shit, he annoys me so much. Closing your eyes, remembering that he's or she or they're here for you, came to your life. Your partner often comes into your life to show you your spaces for growth, your spaces for healing. And they are also a human being with their own past, their own problems, their own conditioning. So in this moment, this is your time to remember, okay, we are together. Do I love this person? Like, am I committing to him long term? Yes. I'm saying him because I have a male partner, so I'll have to continue with that. But use any pronouns that works for you, that work for you. And in that moment, what can help you is to close your eyes and reconnect to this channel that moves through you and be like, okay, love is bigger than me. It's not something that's in between us. It's something that's bigger than me and that can help me now to change the energy and to make an action in this argument or speak from a place that is not infused with fear and anger and annoyment, but with connection and with love. And if you can connect to this frequency and connect to this thought, okay, I'm going to tune in into something that's bigger than me, that's something that is not inside of our relationship, but something that moves through us, and take a breath and practice love and try to be like, what can I now say if I wanted to say it not out of fear that now they're going to be completely wrong for the rest of my life, but out of love? What can I say in this moment to really, really let the frequency of love be present? Or when you're making up from an argument, can you make up in an argument, not because of the story you have about the argument, but because you see the divine in the other person, because you see the love in the other person and their longing, and you allow love to move through you, and you allow this connection to happen. And then, of course, there are many other things that you would do in a practical sense where it comes to communication. You can then create space that is infused in love, and you can have a conversation where, without blaming or judging each other, you can discuss what is it that we need to do for each other to go through these things easier, whatever happened. So yeah, arguments can be much more complex. There are lots of communication skills that need to be learned, but we practice this connection to love inside of an argument, inside of difficult bits. And over time, it accumulates. And over time, you heal certain pieces inside of each other and inside of your relationship that things get easier. So there is this imago method. Imago method. Hopefully I'm writing it correctly. I can check it after. It's basically a communication tool for couples in long-term relationships where they can continue improving communication between each other and deepening love. And according to their theory, that you have 3 stages in your love life with a partner. And the stage 1, of course, is an amazing stage where you're in love and it's all hormonal, basically. And that part is easy. And then you get into a power struggle phase. And most people stop there. That's where people divorce. That's where people get numb of each other. They get tired of each other. They start living separate lives. So they start just like not whatever love is maybe not ever for us. That's this second phase is where most couples end. And the second phase is a phase where you are now learning and being tested. Can you actually tap into a bigger frequency of love? Can you actually work through the beats inside of you to heal from your childhood, from your soma, from your energy? Like, can you heal now together so that you can get to phase 3? Most people don't do the work. They never get through the phase 2. So that's what we see everywhere around us. And that's why we have this story. But if you every time choose love and you choose connection and you choose not to act from fear with each other, but you choose to act through connection and this frequency of love, then you can get to phase 3. But this method, communication method, gives you exact tools how to go through it, because of course then there is communication that you need to learn how to speak to each other so that it actually facilitates healing and not disconnection. And if you get to stage 3, that is a fairy tale. This is where you've basically learned all each other's triggers, you already worked through them, you've already released all those insecurities, and now it's a committed love where love is a choice, where you know how to love each other and you only grow together that way. And in that phase, people can be happy truly for a very long time. It's just very few people ever go through stage 2. That's why we have this conditioning that it doesn't work ever long term. And coming just to comment on sexual connection, because that's also asked here, and I feel like it's important to address. Same. Of course, if we just have sex at the same time and first we rely on this hormonal connection that really it fades out. This is just how it works. It fades out. It's not possible to have an insane hormonal chemical connection for a long time because it has its time. That's why people have affairs, to have again this spark that is only really possible in the first moments of a relationship, or in a relationship where there is literally not enough of that connection. You're just sneaking in and out and sometimes have that. If we want to have sexual connection deeply in a partnership, we have to work on it. And that's where, again, continuous communication, continuous exploration has to come in. Like getting into tantra together, or BDSM, or find a practice that excites both of you, and you can learn new things and learn bodily techniques on each other that excite you and that deepen the growth. And there are so many things you can learn when it comes to sexuality together, especially if you just start a path of tantra together. Like you will deepen forever and ever. And my teacher, Leila Martin, one of my teachers, she's been working with couples for 20 years. And she says that the only times she saw a sexual connection really for a long time in couples over tens and tens of years is when they practice Tantra, which I can relate to. Of course, I'm much younger, but I can see that if you really learn just to have and to feel the subtle sexual energy, you no longer see this as something, again, transactional and something goal-oriented, but something that flows in between your couple and can expand and expand and expand and expand. So short answer to sexual connection is, if you just have sex and expect it to be as good as in the beginning of your relationship, of course, it's not going to satisfy you. It's just, this is normal. But if you want an amazing sexual connection, it's something to be on a journey with your partner and continuously grow through and communicate a lot. Yeah. But that's a little deviation. Coming back to the frequency of love, lastly, before we do the practice, another place where so many places where you can use this frequency of love as a superpower. See, we're here about feminine power, right? So when we want you to have it all, and to have it all, you use love. Work with love. It's amazing to work with love. If you want people to help you, if you want to be magnetic, if you want, like strangers on the street to help you, you can just imbue this frequency of love, and people are just going to magnetize to it, and they will want to support and want to help, right? So somebody crosses you in a traffic, and that's usually, there's so much aggression, so much bad energy. If you instead tune in into frequency of love, and to that person that crossed you, instead of sending them, you're like, ruined my day, if you send them compassion and love, they will really understand how wrong they were in that moment, and this will teach them something. They will continue driving and thinking how they shouldn't be doing this way, how they should be doing way better next time. It sounds like a stretch, but it actually is true. Like if you show them the love instead of aggression, because if you show them aggression, then they will think, oh, that girl is a bitch, whatever. But if you show them love, that's going to be a lesson for them. And showing them love in that moment is, again, just tuning into the frequency to be like, okay, that person might be having a really difficult day, and I see a human in them, and I wish them good, and I want them to be okay. And that was wrong, but I wish them to be in love as well and do better. Yeah, so just sending people love in any moment is going to infuse everything with goodness. Yeah, so that was a very subtle experience example, but see what I mean. You can like apply it to different things, and if you if you create with love, guide with love, send people love, they will feel it and change how they perceive you. But in dating and relationships, it's really powerful. So take it on. I'm looking forward to hearing your experiences if you especially try in dating to say, love is what I'm looking for. So now let's set up for a practice. It's going to be a meditation, like a somatic activation of the frequency of love. It's not going to be too long, but it is something for you to rehearse, something for you to maybe repeat quite a few times. Yeah, and I'll address your comment before. When I get triggered, I lose love. Yes, and this is where the practice comes in. It's tuning in into frequency of love comes with practice, with experience, something we have to teach ourselves. And the practice comes in difficult moments. It is when we get triggered, when we get scared, when we get frustrated. That's the hard part. That's where we do a lot of practice. And also that is the most powerful part, because this is how you can deepen love in long-term relationships. This is how you can affect people and make them connect to you. If in a triggering moment, you can connect into the frequency of love. And this is really normal. By default, most people would lose connection to love in that moment. That's why it's a superpower. It's something that most people will never practice, most people will never be able to do, unfortunately, at least in our lifetime, in the current space where we are. But if you learn to do that, that's your superpower. That's your influence, that's your presence, that's your magnetism, that's your depth. And it really comes with practice. So there is nothing to even intellectualize, as long as you understand it, that it comes with practice. And the way you practice it is exactly how we're going to do that now. So you can repeat the practice that I'm going to guide you through as many times as you need. And you can also create this practice for yourself. And the practice is based on a rehearsal, mental rehearsal of various situations in which you can connect into the frequency of love. And the practice that I'm going to guide you is exactly for the moments when, I lose connection to love. How can I make sure I keep it? Through practice.